My name is Mia Carter. I am 33 years old. And last April, I opened a wall safe in my parents' study and found a prepaid ticket for an around-the-world cruise worth roughly $60,000. 2 hours earlier, those same parents had insisted they could not spare a single dollar to help me attend a $12,000 mindfulness retreat I had planned and saved for during 3 long years. Growing up, my older brother Tyler wrecked every car he drove. And Mom and Dad always wrote the checks. When his most recent startup collapsed in February, he called crying. And they begged me, the dependable one, to cover his payroll. I wired $10,000 from my emergency fund. And he still bounced the checks. They promised to repay me next month. Then booked that luxury cruise instead. They had no idea that I spend my nights tracing network traffic and forensic accounting logs for a living. While they dreamed of champagne on the Lido deck, I was quietly auditing every account linked to my Social Security number, photographing credit card statements that carried my name, and drafting affidavits for the Federal Trade Commission. By the time they packed their designer luggage, I had already frozen my credit, hired a lawyer, and negotiated a promotion that put me one step away from owning the very loan they would need to keep their house. This is not revenge. It is about consent, respect, and the right to draw a hard boundary, even with the people who raised you. The morning after I find the cruise documents, Seattle mist hangs outside my condo windows like a gray curtain. I wrap my hands around a mug of black coffee and force myself to look backward, step by step, to see how I reached this edge. First memory. Independence Day, July 4th, 2016. Tyler roars out of our parents' driveway in a borrowed sedan, music blasting, fireworks cracking overhead. He returns an hour later with the rear bumper crushed and the taillights shattered. The garage smells like burnt rubber. Repair estimate: about $3,900. Dad sighs that insurance premiums will soar. Before anyone asks, I swipe my card. I am 24, earning barely $45,000 a year. Yet I quietly absorb the bill while Tyler slaps my back and promises a steak dinner that never happens. Second memory. December 22nd, 2019. Mom sits at the kitchen table circling a brochure for a private preschool that costs $11,000 annually. She whispers that Lily, then 1-year-old, deserves the very best start. Dad agrees and signs the enrollment form. But when the first tuition invoice arrives, it crosses my desk. Not theirs. 5 monthly payments later, I have sent $4,580 without a single thank you. They call it family teamwork. I call it siphoning. Third memory. January 9th, 2022. Tyler phones at midnight, voice cracking over lousy cell service. His soup delivery startup has burned through every cent. He needs $15,000 by Friday to cover payroll. I wire $10,000 before sunrise, my stomach twisting as the confirmation email pings. Friday arrives, and payroll still bounces. Tyler posts motivational quotes about resilience on social media, while my savings account drops below 5 figures. Fourth memory. March 18th, 2023. I finally put myself first. I asked Dad to co-sign a small personal loan so I can attend a $12,000 mindfulness retreat in Sedona. He presses the phone to his chest and tells Mom he cannot believe I would spend that kind of money on myself while the family struggles. The loan dies on the spot. That same afternoon, Mom sends our group chat a cheerful plan to throw a birthday party for Tyler's Labradoodle at a luxury dog spa. Estimated cost: $2,000. My phone buzzes with their excited emojis. Patterns emerge like stains on white fabric. Tyler is the spark, the golden boy, the future billionaire who only needs one more shot. My parents beam at him and call his failures growing pains. I am the net beneath the trapeze, stretched but never allowed to break.
Dad jokes that I was born reliable, and Mom repeats the line until it becomes a brand stamped on my forehead. When I protest, they fall silent until I apologize for making waves.
I begin to shrink so they can spread out. I try to tally the full cost one rainy Sunday, scrolling through bank statements and credit card histories. The spreadsheet climbs past $76,920 before I slam the laptop shut. My chest tightens, but a different sensation flickers underneath the fear. It feels like resolve. At work, I manage security audits for Fortune 500 firms. My brain is trained to hunt for hidden entry points, to map patterns, to predict breaches. I turn that skill inward.
I request my credit reports for the past 7 years. 3 unfamiliar accounts appear,
each opened with my social security number and my parents' address. Combined balance, roughly $80,000. Interest compounds every day, while I smile through family dinners. When I confront Mom over coffee, she laughs it off. Says all good families share resources. Dad reminds me that Tyler will pay everyone back once his next project launches. Their voices sound distant, like echoing down a long tunnel. In that moment, I realize they do not see me as a daughter. They see me as an ATM that never runs dry. Yet even as the anger heats my skin, I keep my voice even. Emotional restraint has long been my armor. I nod, finish my coffee, and excuse myself.
Back at my condo, I open a fresh workbook and type one word in bold capital letters:
freedom. Under that heading, I create 3 sheets. One for everything I have paid, one for everything I own, one for every secret debt tied to my name. The numbers stare back cold and clear. $76,920 lost. 2 credit cards past due. 1 identity on the verge of collapse. But also $210,000 in a brokerage account. $52,000 in cash reserves. And a skill set that turns stolen data into court evidence. I finally understand. My family is a closed loop that feeds on anyone who refuses to break character. If I remain reliable, Mia, the loop continues forever. If I step out, the entire machine grinds to a halt. That power is mine alone, and I feel it click into place, like the final piece of a lock. But they still think I am the safety net. They have no idea what I am building in the quiet hours after midnight. That is when everything begins to change. April 19th arrives wrapped in the kind of cold spring rain that soaks through every layer. I leave a neurologist's office with a fresh diagnosis: stress-induced migraines. Prescription attached, and step under the clinic awning just as my phone rings. It is Mom. Her voice is bright, almost rehearsed. Sweetheart, Tyler landed a last-minute invite to an investor summit in San Diego. Airfare and hotel come to barely $1,200. Could you transfer the funds by noon? She does not ask how the appointment went. She never knew I had one. I stare at the gray puddles gathering at my feet and feel the gears in my mind shift. The retreat I canceled, the preschool tuition, the wrecked sedans, every dollar drains into the same familiar sinkhole. I draw a slow breath, soften my tone, and say, I am sorry, Mom. I cannot do that. Then I hang up before the practice guilt can start. That evening, I turn apology into action. Step 1. Freeze all 3 credit files so no one can open anything new in my name. Step 2. File the identity theft affidavit with the Federal Trade Commission case number 703158. Step 3. Schedule a fraud review meeting with Karen Lopez at my local bank for the coming Friday. I complete each form with calm precision, the same way I patch vulnerabilities at work. Friday morning. Karen runs the numbers and whistles. Those hidden cards carry a combined balance of roughly $80,000, and the address ties directly to your parents' house. She helps me draft dispute letters and suggests I report potential tax fraud as well. I leave the branch, carrying a folder thick with notarized documents and a feeling I have never had before authority.
Back home, I dismantle the old group chat notifications.
Mute every family thread. And disable location sharing. Days pass. No one notices my silence because I have been conditioned to listen, not speak. Tyler continues posting poolside selfies captioned, "Grind never stops," while Dad forwards inspirational emails about teamwork. I archive each message without reply, with the emotional static removed.
I reclaim bandwidth.
Every dawn before work, I complete modules for the Cloud Security Architect certification. Evenings, I practice penetration testing in a sandbox network Evan set up for me. 2 weeks later, I pass the first exam with a score of 95%. I reward myself with Thai takeout and a line in my Freedom workbook. Skill asset increased. Meanwhile, my brokerage statement arrives. Quarterly dividends of $4,600 drop into the cash account. I redirect the entire amount into a municipal bond ladder yielding 4.2%. Watching compound interest work for me, and only me, feels like oxygen after years of suffocation. May 5th. Mom leaves a voicemail laced with forced concern. "Tyler says your texts are glitching. Everything okay?" I do not respond. Instead, I draft a cease and desist letter that forbids any financial activity in my name. Attach the FTC case number and send it certified mail. The postal receipt becomes Exhibit A in my growing evidence binder.
3 days later, I get the call. Dad.
Sounding irritated. Complains the Discover card suddenly stopped working at the cruise gift shop. I explain, gently, that any account linked to my social security number is now frozen pending investigation. He mutters something about overreacting and ends the call without goodbye. That Sunday, I skip family dinner for the first time in 10 years and take Callie, my gym friend, to the Mariners game instead. Under the stadium lights, I admit the whole story. She listens, then says,
Boundaries are not walls.
"They are doors that lock from the inside." I type the quote into my notes app as a reminder. By mid-May, the transformation is visible on my calendar. Green blocks mark study sessions. Blue blocks document legal steps. Gold stars tag every new income stream. The family events column stays empty. My stress migraines fade to occasional whispers. Yet I know a boundary is only as strong as its first test.
And my family loves tests.
They still believe the safety net is stitched in place, ready to catch their next fall. What they do not see is that I have already unraveled the net and braided it into a rope sturdy enough to pull myself beyond their reach. 3 days from now, that rope will become a lever, and the world will watch what happens when the fulcrum finally shifts. 3 dawns after I drew that calendar full of green study blocks and gold income stars. Everything tilts. It is May 20th, and I am presenting a routine risk assessment to Sentinel Shield, a cyber defense firm whose conference room overlooks Elliott Bay. When I finish, their chief executive waves everyone else out, shuts the glass door, and slides a folder across the table. Inside is a job offer. Director of Threat Intelligence at a base salary of $280,000. Plus stock options projected to vest at roughly $1.6 million within 3 years. I read the figures twice. Steady my breathing. Then sign on the line. The pen feels heavier than any check I have ever written for Tyler. That night, I update the Freedom workbook. Net worth trajectory jumps from the high 6 figures into clear view of 7. I reward myself with a bowl of pho and a walk around Green Lake, letting the cool air braid through my hair while I rehearse how to break the news at Monday's all hands. A promotion is one thing. A seismic leap is another. But they still do not know what I am building. Meanwhile, the Carter family group chat buzzes like a dying fly. Mom posts daily countdown memes for the July cruise. Little cartoon ships gliding across ocean blue, along with captions such as 41 Sleeps to Paradise. Dad complains that the Discover card keeps rejecting cruise line upgrades and asks if anyone can fix the glitch. Tyler announces another pivot. He is launching a Web3 token for luxury pet services and attaches a shaky selfie from a co-working space. His eyes look tired behind designer frames. Investors, he claims, are circling. I mute the thread and turn back to my packet for the Sentinel Shield onboarding team. 2 weeks flow by in disciplined increments. I complete the second cloud architecture certification with a score of 97%. Then file my achievement badge under Skill Asset X2 in the workbook. Dividends post again this time, $5,100, and I move the sum into a short-term treasury ladder. Compound growth takes on the tone of a polite, unstoppable drumbeat. June 1st. Sentinel Shield flies me to New York for the FinSec Expo. I deliver a keynote on zero trust frameworks to an audience of 800 and earn a standing ovation that feels surreal. The talk trends on LinkedIn. 250,000 views by sunset. Recruiters flood my inbox. More important, industry journalists quote a line I ad-libbed on stage. Security is not a moat. It is the bloodstream of trust. I slip that line into my notes app. Right beneath, Callie's boundary quote. As proof that quiet people can resound. While I debrief with the marketing team. My phone buzzes with a text from Brittany. Hey sis. Could you watch Lily the first 2 weeks of July? We have logistics. I type. Sorry. That will not work. And hit send without adding a smiley. A minute later, Tyler tries. Big sis. Proud of you. Any room in that new network for a visionary founder. I close the message, set the device face down, and finish my debrief. Back in Seattle, Karen Lopez calls. The fraud departments have ruled in my favor. The 3 hidden credit cards are formally tagged as identity theft accounts. Liability shifts to the applicants, my parents, and the balances freeze. Interest no longer piling onto my name. Karen suggests I loop in the Internal Revenue Service before unreported gift penalties fall solely on me. I forward the entire binder. A week later, an IRS agent requests a formal interview and thanks me for the meticulous documentation. June 10th. Dad leaves a voicemail that shakes with forced calm. Mia. The bank says there is an issue with our home equity line. You are good with numbers. Can you look into it? I listen twice. Save the recording. And do not call back. That evening, I purchased 2 domain names, thecruiseconfrontation.com and thecartercreditscandal.com, and build a single splash page with a password-protected livestream counter. Evan helps integrate redundant cloud storage so no feed can mysteriously vanish. We set the clock to expire at 0 hours. 0 minutes on July 1st. What happened next shocks everyone becomes more than a teaser line. It becomes the plan. At work, I am measured, collaborative, almost serene. Colleagues notice my posture has straightened. During stand-ups, I speak with concise authority, born from knowing every sentence is backed by evidence and solvency. The migraines have not returned in 3 weeks. At home, the condo grows quieter, calmer. I swap the group chat pings for soft jazz and code review notes. On a Sunday morning, I run the Ballard waterfront, watch fishing boats head into the Sound, and realize I do not feel guilty. I feel prepared. My family's world still spins on borrowed money and brittle optimism. Mine now spins on certifications, compounding yields, and the knowledge that leverage does not require volume. It requires timing. The countdown clock on my new website reads 20 days, 4 hours, and 32 minutes. Each tick echoes like a heartbeat, steady and inevitable. And they still think I am the safety net. But the net has already been rewoven into a spotlight. And when that light flips on in July, every shadow in our family story will stand plainly visible. July 1st dawns bright over Bellevue, Washington, though the air feels thick enough to slice. At 6 o'clock, I park across the street from my parents' house and set my phone on a small tripod facing their walkway. The screen shows a countdown reading 0. With one tap, the private link I seeded through tech forums goes live. 200,000 curious viewers filter in within 60 seconds. Their chat scrolling like a waterfall. I breathe once. Then step into frame. The front door swings open. Mom, dressed in linen resort wear, pulls a floral suitcase behind her. Dad follows, clutching cruise tickets. Tyler ambles out last, phone in hand, vlogging their journey to paradise. When they notice the camera, they freeze. Good morning, I say, voice steady. I received mail addressed to me at this house, federal mail. We should address it before you head to the airport. I hold up a thick white envelope marked Internal Revenue Service. Dad forces a chuckle. Turn that off. Mia, family matters stay private.
They stopped being private the day 3 credit cards were opened with my social security number.
I answer. The chat erupts in capital letters. No way. Show receipts.
I oblige,
Flipping each statement toward the lens. Combined balance. Roughly $80,000. Applicants of record. Harold and Patricia Carter. Mom's face drains. Sweetheart, that was only resource sharing. I finish for her. Identity theft in Washington is a felony under statute 9.35. I keep the edge out of my voice, letting the paperwork do the harm. Tyler steps forward, hand outstretched. We can settle this offline. I pivot to him. Offline, like the wire, I sent your payroll. $10,000. January 9th, 2022.
I tap my phone. A screenshot of the transfer fills the live stream window.
The audience reacts with strings of shocked emojis. Next, I reveal a foreclosure notice stamped by Riverstone Bank. While you plan deck chair selfies, the lender accelerated your home equity line. Default total, $342,000. Dad sways. I deliver the coup gently. Back in May, Sentinel Shield purchased a batch of distressed notes. Guess who now owns the paper on this house? Silence. Even the chat seems to hold its breath. Dad's jaw works, but no sound exits. Mom grips his arm. Tears slipping past perfectly applied mascara. Tyler's phone hangs at his side. Still recording. A neighbor across the street pauses mid-sprinkler adjustment. Gawking. I continue. You have 28 days left to cure the debt or vacate. If you choose to vacate, I will allow a moving company of your choice to collect personal items provided. Those items were not bought with accounts in my name. Mom whispers, "We're family." Family honors consent. I reply, family corrects wrongs. You may start by signing these. I present 2 documents. An admission of fraudulent credit use and an agreement to reimburse every dollar siphoned total.
$76,920 interest waived if repaid within 5 years.
I slide a pen across the suitcase. Tyler explodes first, palms skyward. This is blackmail. It is restitution, I answer, and it is being witnessed by 250,000 people. The view count flips past that milestone as I speak. Dad's shoulders slump. He scratches the signature line, then hands the pen to Mom. She signs, mascara blotting the page. Tyler refuses, storms inside, and slams the door. Through the window, his labradoodle barks, confused. At that moment, a patrol car rolls to the curb. Officer Duncan, responding to the precautionary call my attorney placed earlier. I give him the FTC affidavit and the signed admission. He nods, asks my parents if they intend to cooperate. They murmur yes. He departs. Lights off. But every neighbor curtain now twitches. Privacy is gone. Replaced by daylight and digital permanence. I face the camera one last time. Documentation matters. Boundaries matter. If someone drains your life, you are allowed to close the tap. I end the stream with a single click. Final tally. 1.9 million cumulative viewers. 800,000 comments. Half of them thanking me for showing that quiet preparation can thunder louder than rage. But the echo does not die when a feed goes dark. Fresh consequences already ripple outward. IRS audits. Credit Bureau alerts. An emergency family meeting scheduled without my presence. And I still hold the note on the only home they have ever owned. What happens over the next 28 days will redefine what the Carters call normal. And the world will decide whether my line between justice and vengeance is bright or blurred. 3 weeks remain before the foreclosure clock strikes 0. And the final decision, mercy or full execution, rests in my calm, steady hands. July 28th arrives so quietly that I almost miss it. The countdown on Riverstone Bank's foreclosure portal flips to zeros at 8 a.m. sharp, and a paralegal emails me the final transfer deed. By noon, a locksmith changes the front door cylinders, while a moving team booked by my parents with the discount code I provided packs whatever furniture remains. Mom and Dad are not there to watch. They spent the night in a chain motel outside Spokane. Far enough to avoid reporters, but close enough to borrow a neighbor's Wi-Fi and follow the story they helped create. I drive past the house only once. The lawn is yellow. The flower beds wilted. The porch lights still set to vacation mode. I do not feel triumph. I feel alignment, as if the universe finally rotated into its true north. I park at a nearby overlook and call Karen Lopez to confirm the note is settled. She congratulates me on seeing the process through without a single late filing. The phrase "seeing the process through" sounds clinical, yet carries the weight of 10 silent years. 3 days later, Dad emails a brief thank you for offering the moving voucher. He does not mention restitution or the IRS audit now churning through 2 decades of gift tax discrepancies. I acknowledge the note with a line my therapist helped draft. I wish you accountability and growth. Boundaries are best measured in plain sentences. Tyler fades from public view. The luxury pet token shuts down after the livestream tanked investor confidence. He drives a rideshare sedan in Spokane.
Which is ironic because he once mocked me for taking public transit.
Brittany works remote customer support, while Lily attends a modest community preschool, the same kind I suggested years ago before private tuition devoured my savings. On August 3rd, a local journalist publishes a feature titled Identity Theft Inside Affluent Families. The article cites my case, anonymized as proof that financial abuse wears polite faces. In the comments section, strangers debate whether I went too far or not far enough. I read every line, sip herbal tea, and feel oddly detached. The argument is no longer mine. Freedom is surprisingly quiet. My condo is paid in full with the Sentinel Shield signing bonus, and the remaining windfall sits in a ladder of treasuries that do not care about anyone's opinion. Migraine frequency has dropped to 0. I still wake at 6, but now I walk Green Lake without earphones, letting waterfalls of birdsong replace the constant audit of family chatter. Sedona waits in October. The retreat accepts late registrations, and I reserve a private casita facing the red rocks. When the confirmation email arrives, I forward a copy to Callie with the subject line, "Worth the wait." She replies with 5 fire emojis and a promise to water my plants. I have not forgotten Lily. Using the refunds from the fraudulent card reversals, I open a custodial index fund account in her name. The beneficiary line reads, "For educational purposes only, no early withdrawals." Someday, she will ask why her grandparents lost their home, And I will explain gently that secrets are like mold. They grow in darkness and crumble the beams that hold a house upright. On a soft Sunday evening, I sit on my balcony, Puget Sound gleaming silver under the sunset, and record a final video update. I speak plainly. Families can lift you, or they can drain you, but they cannot own you. Ownership belongs to the person who signs the paperwork and pays the bill. I end with a request. If your story sounds like mine, share it below. Your words might be the rope someone else needs to climb out. Within an hour, comments stack up siblings who co-sign loans under pressure, cousins whose inheritances vanished, spouses hiding side accounts for safety. The community I wanted when I felt most alone now builds itself in real time. Proof that transparency multiplies when offered without shame. That is the closure I choose. Not foreclosure, not livestream metrics, but the steady hum of voices finding each other across a digital canyon. My parents once called me the reliable one. They were right. I am reliable, reliably self-governing, reliably solvent, reliably unwilling to fund another person's cruise at the cost of my peace. The story ends here, but the principle sails on. Boundaries are not punishments. They are maps that show where love can safely land. If my map helps you redraw your own, I consider every notarized page, every sleepless certification exam, every line of compound interest math absolutely worth it. Now it is your turn. Comment below with the moment you realized enough was enough. Let us chart these coordinates together, so no one has to navigate exploitation alone. October 15th, Sedona, Arizona. Dawn breathes pink over the red rocks, while I sit cross-legged on a cedar deck outside my casita. The mindfulness retreat bills this session as returning to center. For me, it feels like updating a firewall after all the malware has been quarantined. The past 10 weeks passed in deliberate beats. Sentinel Shield finalized my stock option paperwork, and the first vesting tranche hit my brokerage on September 1st. The figure appears as a long string of digits, but I translate it into real things, more charity donations, deeper emergency reserves, maybe a down payment on a vacation cabin near the Cascades. Freedom measured in choices, not in trophies. During that same stretch, I kept one eye on Spokane. Dad pled guilty to misdemeanor identity theft and received 200 hours of community service. He scans documents at the county library 3 afternoons a week, which is a sort of cosmic symmetry. Mom accepted a plea agreement to repay half the fraudulent balances over 5 years. Their names no longer appear on my credit alerts, and that silence is louder than any apology could be. Tyler remains quiet. According to public court filings, he filed Chapter 13 and surrendered his leased sports car. Brittany took a part-time bookkeeping course and now posts modest wins, like reconciling accounts to the penny. Her humility feels genuine. Every photo of Lily shows the child clutching a library book instead of designer toys. Small pivots, but pivots all the same. I wish them growth from a respectful distance. Sedona's instructor rings a brass bowl. Eyes closed. I follow the tone until it fades. Then feel my phone vibrate in my pocket. I almost ignore it this week. Is meant to be screen-free, but habit wins. The notification comes from the comments section under my final update video. A single line. Your story gave me the courage to file a police report. Underneath, dozens echo similar steps filing fraud claims, closing abusive joint accounts, booking therapy appointments. Community ripples wide when one stone drops. I tuck the phone away and inhale desert sage. My mind drifts to an image of boundaries as riverbanks, not walls, not cages, simply contours that shape the flow of water so the land can bloom instead of flood. The river may shift courses over time, but the bank is free to move with it, never against it. That metaphor steadies me more than any mantra. After morning meditation, I hike Boynton Canyon with Callie, who flew down to join me for the weekend. We move in comfortable silence until she asks the question I have avoided. Do you regret live streaming? I pause. Consider. Then answer truthfully. I regret that it was necessary. I do not regret the light. She nods, kicks a pebble, and changes the subject to how well my plants survived under her care. That, right there, is friendship buoyant, non-judgmental, future-facing. Evening brings a closing circle where each participant names one lesson to carry home.
When my turn comes, I say,
Generosity without consent is servitude. Love without boundaries is erosion. Today, I choose generosity that begins with respect. Heads around the fire pit nod. Some eyes glisten. The facilitator writes the sentence on a flip chart so everyone can take a photo. My voice does not tremble. It resonates.
Back in the casita, I open the custodial fund dashboard.
Lily's index fund has already grown by $900, thanks to a late summer market uptick.
I schedule an automatic holiday contribution of $1,000 and set a calendar reminder to tell her the account exists when she turns 18.
The next generation deserves a starting point untainted by secrecy. Before bed, I draft a short post for my boundary community. No grand declarations, just a quiet note. I met sunrise over the red rocks today. My pulse and the Earth's pulse felt synchronized. If you are still in the storm, keep rowing. The shore is real, and the ground is solid. I attach a photo of the canyon glowing gold. Comments pour in. Hearts and thank yous, and a single word repeated like a chant, hope. The retreat ends with a candle ceremony. One by one, we step forward, light our taper from a shared flame, and carry it to a shallow pool where the candles float in widening circles. My reflection flickers on the water's steady shoulders, unshadowed eyes. Reliable. Still. But reliable now to myself first. As I watch the lights drift, I think about maps again. The old map I carried was drawn by hands that needed me to stay small. I have redrawn it in larger scale, marking not only hazards, but also vistas, places worth visiting, paths worth sharing. If my updated chart helps you sketch your own, take it. Add your rivers, your banks, your hard-won landmarks. Then pass it forward. And when your candle meets someone else's candle on the water, do not be surprised if the glow doubles. That is how navigation becomes constellation.